Hi everyone, and welcome to the Fake Love and Flying Monkeys podcast. My name's Nova Gibson and I am your host. My area of expertise is in supporting victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse and other toxic relationships. I'm the principal counsellor at Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counselling Service, and I'm also the author of Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about everything from the initial pink cloud you find yourself on at the start through to the horrific discard and the powerful trauma bond that keeps you hooked. So take your imaginary seat on the roller coaster that is narcissistic abuse, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Okay, one thing that I hear all the time from my clients is that they are so worried that the narcissist, their abuser, is going to treat the next person nicely. They're going to remain that amazing person that they met in the beginning, the person who threw them breadcrumbs in the end of the person they fell in love with, the person who doesn't exist. Now, this is really understandable when you look at it through the eyes of the victim and the trauma they have experienced from the narcissist and the absolute manipulation that has taken place. Now, if you're someone who hasn't experienced narcissistic abuse and you're looking at it from the outside in and you've witnessed your friend or your loved one being abused horrifically by this person, you would probably be thinking to yourself, why on earth are you worried about that? And how could you possibly think that they are going to treat this person like a king or a queen after what they've done to you? And the answer lies in the fact that the victim has been conditioned over time to believe that they're responsible for the abuse. They've been conditioned to believe that everything was their fault. And they still have this memory that this person is nice. That's the memory they have. That's the memory that makes them feel better. So if they're thinking that everything was their fault, they're also conditioned to believe that they're crazy and that all of these issues were their responsibility. And if they hadn't have acted so crazy, so to speak, then their abuser wouldn't have just flipped from that person who treated them so well to the person who treated them like they are something on the bottom of their shoe. But also the abuser conditions them to believe that the change in the abuser's behavior was the result of the victim's actions. So if you look at it from this perspective, every victim who has been conditioned to believe that there's something wrong with them and that everything was their fault, it kind of makes sense that they will think that if the narcissist meets someone who's not as crazy as them, then they might get to keep that amazing person that made the victim feel so good in the beginning. If you're a victim of narcissistic abuse who is listening to this, then you will know that looking back after you've been discarded or you manage to escape. And with all the research that you've done, you will know that your boundaries were eroded away over time. And you don't know how you got to that person in the end who was nothing like the person that you were in the beginning of this relationship. So you're a shell of yourself. You have been subjected most probably to abuse that has escalated towards the end. The abuse always escalates towards the end. Even if you're discarded or you've managed to escape, the abuse would have escalated. The narcissist, if you've escaped, has preempted that you're going to leave. So they need to set it up so that you are the one who is responsible for the abuse, and you left doing the wrong thing. You left this person who loves you so much. Of course, that's what they're going to be telling everyone else in the smear campaign if you have escaped. And if they have discarded you, the same will happen. The abuse escalates. And the reason this happens is to pave the way for them to enter into a new relationship unscathed. They want people to feel sorry for them, because when the covert abuse escalates that many people can't see, then you are going to react. You're going to be just so frustrated, and you're going to question them as to why they are all of a sudden treating you even worse than they did before. So the reason for the escalation in the abuse is twofold. They need to use your frantic reactions as a reason for getting into this new relationship so quickly, because people will look at your frazzled behavior when you don't understand what happened, and you're seeking answers and you're seeking closure. The narcissist will use your reactions as a way of manipulating people on the outside, people who will think, oh my goodness, look what that poor person has been through, the narcissist, and isn't it wonderful that they have found someone who is willing to support them in healing from your abuse. And it's also so that you will feel absolutely crazy and not understanding what's happened. The images they put out there on social media of them with the new soulmate, those happy snaps, will seek to destroy you. How traumatizing is it when you've been essentially thrown away like yesterday's garbage with no reason why, and you are just distraught, traumatized, and here you are looking at them with the next person who you fear is not as crazy, in inverted commas, as you, and you're looking at that happen before you. This is what feeds into that cycle of love bomb, devalue, discard, and destroy. They need to destroy you, and they know that the way they set it up, which will be so horrific in the end, it always is, will make the pain even more unbearable when you see them just move on with someone else like you never existed. Now, there's a few reasons the narcissist needs to move on immediately, and it all revolves around supply. They cannot be alone. They must have someone who is reflecting back to them that that mask they wear is real. If no one's reacting, then that makes them agitated, anxious, because they put so much time into making this new personality that they have believable. So if no one is reacting, then there is that underlying fear that their personality is not real, and that they actually might have to reflect back on who they really are, that true self, which is shame-ridden and weak and vulnerable. Moving on so quickly also reinforces that you were the problem in this relationship, because to the outside world, here they are, they're getting on with their life, they're happy, they've been through a lot, but they've picked up those shattered pieces of their life and they're moving on. But here you are, just this wreck who can barely get out of bed in the morning. So once again, it reinforces to outsiders that you were the problem, and the narcissist gets to move on like they were the victim of you, and do it with the sympathy of others. So as I said earlier, the narcissist cannot be alone. They cannot be alone with their true self. So I want to give you a bit of an image that I think really depicts the narcissist and the fact that they move on to someone else so quickly, and how and why they do it. So depending on which country you're in, I believe that, most people in the world had these kinds of, play things at the local park. Well, I know I did when I was a child. But whatever you call them, in Australia, we call them monkey bars. Okay, so if you think of those monkey bars when, as a child, you would get up there with both hands on one monkey bar each, and you could not take hold of the next bar until you had released the last one, or you were going to fall in a heap. You were going to injure yourself. So you grab one. Then when you feel safe, you let go of the other one, and so forth. Now, this is exactly what the narcissist is doing when they are most of the time moving on immediately with that next target. Because they cannot be alone, they need to make sure that they have secured that next victim by love bombing them, by telling them, how hard done by they are, how badly they were treated by you, all the while ramping up the abuse, escalating the chaos and craziness with you, so that you will act in a volatile manner, hopefully. You will ring and text them constantly, trying to get some answers. And of course, this serves to cement them in the arms of the next target, because it proves the narcissist right. It also, makes them appear to be this wanted commodity, because they've told that new target that you're crazy and or you just can't get over them. So using the monkey bar analogy, they love bomb the new target. Yes, your instincts were correct. The grooming takes place 99.9% of the time while they are still with you. So all those times that you were told that you were insecure and paranoid for thinking that, they might be talking to or seeing someone else, you were right. They were grooming their next target. But they can't leave you. They can't allow you to escape or discard you until they've got that new target in hook, line, and sinker. And it's only when they know for sure they've landed that prey, they will get rid of the old tired source who's got nothing left to give to them. So the relationship with the next target starts off with a bang. It is so intense, just like it was with you. It's over the top. You may have memories when you were being love bombed by the narcissist about how appalling their last partner was and the hell they were put through by that person. And you most probably had your empathy used against you, and you felt sorry for the narcissist as they portrayed themselves as the victim. So the next target is love bombed. They feel amazing, and it is all so intense. Now, I want you to remember what happened with you. When you think of the narcissist changing into a nice person and remaining that nice person with the next target, I want you to think back to what happened to you, because with all the research that you've done, with all the podcasts like Fake Love and Flying Monkeys, hopefully, that you've been listening to, you now have to trust your instincts. You now know who and what they are. And what you now know with the research that you've done, whether you're able to truly accept it at whatever point in your healing journey you're at, you know the narcissist does not change. They will engage in exactly the same cycle with the next target that they did with you. You now have to trust your instincts. If the narcissist were to change for the next person, then they wouldn't be a narcissist. And knowing that you're probably not going to get a diagnosis, that's very, very rare, then you have to trust that what you are reading and all of the mountains of research that you've been doing is correct. You have looked at those 9 traits in the DSM, and you know that your abuser met at least 5 of those. You have looked at other people's stories or read about other people's stories, and you know the behaviors that they were subjected to by their abuser are just textbook with what you experienced. So what that means is that you now have to trust that the next target has not won any kind of a prize. They've got the booby prize. They just don't know it at the moment because they're feeling exactly the way you felt, and you were manipulated into feeling when you went through that whirlwind where you couldn't think straight, but it felt so good. It must be right. And relationships like that only come around once in a lifetime, right? So you've got to override all those tiny, niggling little doubts in the beginning, because you don't want to let this once in a lifetime relationship get away from you. Now, that is exactly what the next target is going to be thinking and feeling. Now, the reason I'm doing this podcast is because it's completely normal. There is nothing wrong with you for thinking that the next person may get to keep permanently the person that you met in the beginning. It's really, really normal given the context of your abuse. It's irrational because you're not trusting your instincts and you know how abusive this person is, but that irrational thinking is one of the symptoms of the abuse. So it's very, very normal to think that they will change. And it feeds into the fact that you've been conditioned to believe that everything was your fault. You have been taught that over time, there's something wrong with you. How many times did your abuser say things like, oh my goodness, you need to go and see someone and up the medication you're on. You need to, either get off the pills or get on the pills because, as you know, you can't win with the narcissist. And it is impossible not to have issues of anxiety and depression and physical symptoms relating to those two things because of your trauma, because you are constantly in a state of fight or flight, trying to predict how you can please this person who can never be pleased. And your anxiety just builds and builds and builds, and you're being told that your anxiety is the cause a lot of the time of the issues in the relationship, rather than being a symptom of their abuse inside the relationship. So the narcissist conditions you to question your every thought with the ongoing gaslighting, which distorts your reality, and all of their other manipulative techniques or abuse to destroy your sense of self and your self-esteem and any confidence you once possessed. So they have conditioned you to not trust yourself. So here you are, the narcissist is telling you that you've got real problems with anxiety, etc. You are unable to trust yourself, and you do have anxiety. They tell you that every time you want to have a discussion with them, that all you want to do is start up an argument. And then, of course, because you can't discuss your feelings, you get anxious and frustrated, and then the narcissist gets to go, see, I told you. So you don't trust yourself. The narcissist is reinforcing in you that you've got problems, and you can see that you do have problems, but you can't trust the situation as your instincts would be screaming at you. You can't trust that there is actually a setup going on here. And the problem isn't with you. The problem is with your abuser. So all of these factors feed into, as the narcissist is very aware of, these things feed into you thinking that this next person is going to have this wonderful, kind, compassionate person forever. The person that you may now be craving in terms of withdrawal, not craving your abuser, but craving that chaotic, drama-filled environment, that roller coaster, which sends you crashing when you've become dependent on that psychological and physical space. So you've been conditioned to feel insecure and paranoid over time because you've been set up to feel this way, but it happened on such a slow and insidious basis that you didn't see it happening. And the narcissist has this PhD, so to speak, in manipulation to make you believe that you are paranoid. So these conditioned responses of yours, such as, I am insecure, and, I've just got to learn to trust them. And, I do overreact. I am oversensitive. Those conditioned responses just don't turn off overnight. And it's going to take time and lots of practice to override those conditioned responses, which feed into you believing they will change for the next person. Your insecurities and that there's something wrong with you. That belief was instilled in you by the very person who benefited from you doubting yourself. So it's going to take time, and you are going to need to say to yourself consistently over and over again, and get lots of support with this, that the way I'm feeling is normal given what I've been through, but it's actually not true. I know that my abuser, and that's who they are, an abuser, not just an abuser for one partner, but always an abuser, meaning they're going to be an abuser for the next person. I know they're not going to change. And even though I'm feeling like that may be the case right now, I know that's not true. Now, the thoughts and the feelings are not going to align with the behavior, which is you saying this to yourself every time you have those feelings. But if you are consistent in overriding those negative thoughts, then over time, those thoughts and feelings will align with what you're saying to yourself, whilst you're getting a lot of support, which means that you will believe essentially what you're saying, which is, yep, I know that next person is sadly going to go through exactly what I went through, and I know it wasn't me, and they're not capable of change. The narcissist will not and cannot change or deviate from that narcissistic cycle, because it is impossible to sustain that love bombing. That's why it's over the top and just so intense. Your head's in a whirl. You can't think straight. That's why it is so over the top. It's because they want to hook you in quickly, because it's an arduous task to love bomb someone when all they want is to make it about themselves. So they've got to come on thick and fast so that they can get that out the way quickly and then be able to essentially kick back and become who they are and feed off your reactions, which will happen with the new target. They will question why there's been a shapeshift in their soulmate. And of course, once they start questioning the narcissist, then that's when they are booted off their own pink cloud, because they're no longer reflecting back to the narcissist just how amazing they are. It's inevitable that every victim is going to react when their amazing soulmate, does a complete shapeshift and turns into someone they don't recognize. Of course you're going to react, but that's when you are deemed as flawed by the narcissist. In their eyes, you lied. You didn't remain that perfect being they met. You lied about who they were because you stopped worshipping them. You questioned them, which is criticism to the narcissist. When you're questioning what's going on, then that creates a major narcissistic injury, and then you need to be punished. So the cycle of narcissistic abuse is absolutely inevitable because you're set up to react and then punished for doing so. So, guys, when you are looking at those happy snaps, you're still perhaps in that stage where, you're maybe stalking the narcissist's account or maybe having a sneak peek at the new target. Those happy snaps are just what the narcissist wants you to see, to make your pain worse than it is. And they're just simply propaganda. That's why I always advise to my lovely clients to not look. You are not going to see anything that makes you feel better. And that new target has their own journey in front of them. You may never see the narcissist's karma as well, but believe me, it happens when they start to lose their ability as they get older to secure their life-giving force of narcissistic supply. But for now, they are going to engage in that love bomb, devalue, discard, destroy, and hoover cycle with every single person that they meet. And this also includes supposed friends, or flying monkeys, we call them, of the narcissist, because the narcissist doesn't have true friends. You will probably remember when you were in the relationship with the narcissist, how quickly they would dispose of a so-called friend because they perceived criticism from them in some way. They were given the boot and it was all their fault, and they did not look back to that friend unless it was to smear them to someone else. They will discard their own children if they perceive criticism from their own child. This is why they move around a lot of the time from job to job, because they will be getting feedback from their boss, which they are going to deem as criticism. And of course, it will be everyone else's fault. They were being bullied. They were just not respected at that job for how amazing and skilled they are. So they move about, they leave their jobs because they cannot stand what they believe to be criticism and the fact that they're not being looked as this amazing special person who everyone should be, getting down on their knees and worshipping. The trauma that victims go through when they have been discarded, often at times that will make the pain 1,000-fold. Times like when they're sick, or it's their birthday, or they've just left their job because the narcissist has told them to do so and that they will support them. Or perhaps they're trying to support a loved one who's going through a horrendous time. They will do it at the time that will hurt you the most. So you've been discarded or you've escaped, you're traumatized from the ongoing abuse and the escalation of the abuse towards the end, And on top of that trauma, you have the trauma of this person that you loved moving on and giving that love, in inverted commas, to someone else. I don't think there is too many other things, apart from losing a loved one forever, someone who has died that you were incredibly close to. I don't think that there are many things that could be more soul destroying than that. So when you are in this traumatized state, it is so easy to think that they will change for the next person. So I really hope that this episode has helped you to come eventually to accept the fact that they will not change. They cannot change. And that this new target, and that's all they are, they're a target, and they're going to be or are a new victim. They will go through exactly the same cycle of abuse. As sure as the sun comes up tomorrow, they will go through that cycle just as you did. So please take solace in that, but also please don't look, because when you're looking at them with the new soulmate, you're just staying in the environment that you're trying to heal from. So as hard as it is, I know in the state of withdrawal due to that powerful trauma bond, please don't look, and please get lots and lots of support, because that next target, they're just you at the beginning of the cycle. That doesn't mean you have to feel sorry for them, because if you were to approach them, they wouldn't believe you. They've already been told what you're going to say, and it just will support what the narcissist has said about you, which is probably you're crazy and you can't get over them. So yeah, you don't have to feel sorry for them. You can, I guess, pity them, but they have their own journey ahead of them, and your job at the moment is to heal. Your number one job is to repair the damage that your abuser did, and to feel worthy of being the person you were supposed to be before you were abused. Okay, that brings us to the end of another episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Thank you so much for sticking through to the end with me today. We examined that question that nearly every victim asks themselves, which is, will they change for the next person? We looked at the cycle of abuse, which is inevitable in every single relationship. We looked at the patterns of the behavior that the narcissist engaged in with you that inevitably set you up to feel that they will change for the next person. And we also looked at ways to understand that the ending of your relationship was not your fault, and that the beginning of the next relationship is just going to be like yours, and they will be just you in a different body, I guess you could say. So I hope you found this episode insightful. If you'd like to support this podcast, the best thing you can do is to share. And of course, to rate us. Ratings really, really help, guys, and your reviews, I just love reading. So please leave a review and give us a rating, and don't forget to follow me on all my other social media platforms, which you'll find below, as well as my website link, which you can click on if you'd like to have a one-on-one counseling session with me. And of course, don't forget to get your copy of my best-selling book, fake love, understanding, and healing from narcissistic abuse. On that note, it's bye from me for now. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, guys, I will have my voice back as it normally sounds. But for now, you've got the croaky old me. So until the next episode, please remember, guys, you are worthy of so much love, and you are certainly worthy of a whole lot more than a lifetime of fake love and flying monkeys.